Hey, Tim, can you hear me? Hello, hello. Yeah. Is it everybody here? Hello, hello. Can you guys hear me? Hey, guys. I'm the person with the froggy voice, but we're still going to have a workshop today. Sorry about the gravel in my throat. Welcome, everybody. If you haven't been here, this is Freedom Church. They host the Beth We events now, and it's wonderful because they don't charge me. We will pass a basket, and Beth We will split with them. I'll hopefully cover my lunch, and they'll get a few bucks for hosting this for us. Today we're going to talk about relationships. For many of us, relationships, if you think about what's eating your lunch, it's usually about a relationship. Okay, it could be your relationship with your checking account, but really, I mean, it's probably about a person. The ones that really get to us are the ones that we're not sure what went wrong, or we're angry at what did happen, whatever it is. But relationships, as Winnie the Pooh would say, relationships are the source of misunderstanding. So we're gonna get started with the ABCs of healing relationships and creating healthy new ones. This is a teaching that we did on the 3rd annual Beth We cruise. Where's Jackie? Wave your hand around, Jackie. If you're interested in the 4th annual cruise, she's the one who books those. We are going November 6th to the 9th, again to the Bahamas. We have jumped ship. We left RCL and we have jumped to MSC Cruises, so it's more affordable for us. For you is what I mean. It's really affordable. So if you haven't ever been on a cruise and you want to come, we're going to be teaching on letting go and letting God, the art of surrender. That's what the cruise theme is going to be. And we only teach a little bit in the morning, and then we have a great time for the rest of the day. So keep it in mind. Got a lot of people that just came in, so I'm going to let them kind of get situated. But I want to start talking about the same thing I talk about every time I have a workshop. So Tim, could we do a slide? As we seek healing in our relationships, we need to talk about the places most affected by relational brokenness or relational discord. We are made of 3 natures, each one of us. We have the body that got you here to this workshop. We have the soul, which is mostly your reasoning. The soul is made up of 3 parts. It's your emotions, your reasoning, and your will. The will's the big one, guys. The will is the part that changes. You think it through and you do it. A lot of us go from emotion to do it. We skip that think it through part. We go from the shallow end to the deep end and we drown in our emotions. That reasoning part being right in the middle is really important. And then we have the spirit. The spirit is the place that we've allotted for your higher power, for your understanding of God to come and live within you. And these 3 natures work together. So when I'm having, like right now, I'm having a bad throat day, or my voice sounds bad, but my body might be troubled, but my prayer life, or I could use my prayer life to help me get out of it, or I could go to a friend and talk about it. I could read some soothing words to comfort me, because my mind and my spirit can help my body. Just like when my emotions are crazy and I take a walk, I feel better. What's up with that? I take a walk, I move a muscle, I change a thought. You've heard that one. So the way that we're going to look at this, I really want you to get your 3 natures as we get into this. So let's do the next one, because I want to talk about that soul. How the soul works best is 3 operating systems feeding each other. All right, just like any other layout, any other schematic, it's the emotion goes to the reasoning, goes to the action. When you skip one of those, you get in trouble. You have a fight. You say what you shouldn't have said. You act before you think. So the way the soul works best is to feel the feeling. Feelings aren't right or wrong. They're just indicators of something that we're trying to find out about. Then we go into thinking, to the reasoning. We start to think about how that I feel this. What does that mean? What should I do? Should I talk to somebody? Should I pray? Should I go for a walk? Whatever it is, the reasoning. And then you take the action. When we use the soul the way it was designed, oh gosh, you guys, it's great. But when we skip around, it's not so good. Have you ever had somebody who only uses their intellect and they're constantly telling you what it should be? Because I know what it should be because I'm always using my intellect, and my intellect tells me that what's happening right now is blah, blah, blah. And you're kind of like, oh, could you be nice to me, please? Could you use your emotions too? Could you use your emotions too? And could you stop wagging the finger? Stop that will thing going in my face? Are you with me? Okay. So that's why do I want you to know the soul? The next slide, Tim. Because relational brokenness happens here. And I got a big picture of a heart there. Because the heart, you've heard of it, follow your heart, don't follow your heart. The heart of the matter, the heart. We hear about the heart all the time. And I think it's been poorly defined for years. So my best attempt at understanding what the heart is the next slide. Sorry, my guys are just getting into this with me. Thank you. I think the heart is the seat of my truest desires. Even when I'm lying to myself, my heart knows what's true. Heart energy manifests in the soul as a commitment to what my spirit says is most important to me. So it's almost like the soul and the spirit are holding hands, and that's the heart. So when you think about that, sorry about that. When you're thinking about what that means, your heart what you desire the most, what you long for the most, is what's on your heart. Has anybody ever told you that you have first place in their heart, but they never acted like it? That's a deceived heart. They probably really think that their wife, their children, their husband, their spouse, their whoever they're talking to, they really think that has first place. But that's not what their actions show. A real easy way to see that is to look at addiction. What happens with addiction is the heart finds something it wants, and it starts to desire it without stop. It's like a compulsive desire, and the heart is asking for it all the time. And when the heart is doing that, the person that's under the duress from the heart is suffering because they can't stop using, seeing, behaving, whatever the addiction is. They don't have a choice anymore whether they're going to do it or not. The heart is really important. So the next slide, please. Sometimes the heart will make us act in ways that are inconsistent with what we think most. I just had a good example of that, right? Let's go another one, Tim. Let's get through this. The heart knows what's in first place, even if we don't. Now, that sounds crazy, but your heart knows. You may be telling yourself one thing, but your heart knows that what you're saying to yourself isn't reality. So sneaky concerns that may steal first place include career, success, sex, money, addictions, even sloth. When given first place, these things change our heart's desires, and they ruin our relationships. And while our relationship is getting ruined, we're telling ourselves, but I love you more than anything. But you're the most important thing in the world to me. But you know I'd do anything for these kids, but you know this business that I built is number one on my list. Whatever it is that you're telling yourself is in first place, your heart knows it's not, because your heart is serving what you put in first place. So let's do another slide. As we start the work, so we're just starting the work of healing relationships, you have to examine your heart's desires. You have to examine your heart's desires. You have to know your part. When you go in and when you're trying to figure out what's wrong with a relationship and it's always this, them, they did it, do, and you're not looking at all at yourself, you're not going to get to the bottom of it because it takes two to tangle. Oh, is that tango? Sorry. But it does. It takes two to tangle, right? When we're going to tangle with each other, it's because two of us are thinking of ourselves first and not thinking of what we're bringing to the relationship. And probably because we're trying to protect our heart. And I'm not saying not get hurt. I'm saying protect whatever you really think's most important. Is it the money? Is it the job? Is it what is it that you're protecting in that heart that makes you tangle? It could, in this day and age, it could be anything from a political view, a social media account. I mean, it's the things that are making people tangle now is really open-ended. Pretty much anything can make two people disagree. But the only part that you can heal is your part. So if you came here hoping that that person that wants to walk out on you isn't going to walk out, that's probably not going to happen. But if you start to change and become the person you were intended to be, all bets are off. Anything can happen when you're in that mindset. So now we're going to start the work of healing with the ABCs. Well, thanks. So the work of repairing relationships takes work. It doesn't just happen. You have to work at it. I love Donald has a t-shirt and it has a dog on it and it says, "Please don't make me do stuff." It's a great t-shirt. But we all have that t-shirt inside us. We all have that, "Oh, don't make me do stuff." And especially if you're coming home to a relationship and you've been doing stuff all day. "Oh, now I got to do more stuff here. Oh, gosh, I have to do more stuff." I love Irma Bombeck. Those of you under 30 don't know that name at all, but Irma Bombeck used to be a columnist, and she was kind of a humor columnist, but she was like a housewife columnist. And she said once, "I figure if the kids are alive at 5 when he gets home from work, I've done my job." And it kind of cracked me up because she's been in relational work with her children all day. The husband comes home and he's been in relational work at his job all day. And all of a sudden, they're both looking for a break. But there's no break because relationships go on. Do you see that? So when I was thinking about the A's, A, B, C, the A, I had all these grade A's that could have been the A. Acceptance of the other person, allowing the other person. But you know what I found is really the most important A that's going to help us with our relationships? We're ready, Tim. A is to acknowledge your role. Before you have any success in a relationship, you have to know who you are in the relationship. And you know what's really funny? You get to decide who that is. You, not the other person. Why are you seeking connection with this other person? Now, some of you would say, well, because they popped out of me and needed me to feed them. Okay, so that's your kid, all right? But that's your role then. Your role then is mother or father. Your role in that relationship is defined by what you think a parent is. You're defining what a parent is. For every person in this building, there are that many different parenting styles. Yeah. Everybody parents their own way. So you get to decide what kind of parent you want to be. Now, some of you are here because when you were busy parenting, you had something else on your heart. You had the career. You had the got to build the money, got to make the success, got to get this going. And in your mind, you're saying, it's for my kids. It's for my wife, my kids, my husband, my whoever, my partner. But in their reality, you just weren't there. And now you're touched with that. I think the best part about the A is that you still get to decide what your role is. And your role can change with time. So now you have time and you realize you made a mistake, that you weren't focused enough when they needed you. If you own your part of that, your relationship will change, I promise you. Oh, they might rebel, they might keep you at a distance for a while, but if you just keep gently being who you want to be the mother, be the father, be the sister, be the brother, be the aunt, be the uncle, be the friend, who you want to be in that relationship, it will start to change. Because people respond to how we love them. And when you love them differently, they will know it. People are built to receive love. And it's only when something's really wrong that they repel it. And just like that drop of water on the stone, it'll wear it down. It might take some time. I'm not saying it's going to be over next Friday, they'll be over for dinner. You know, it might be 6 Thanksgivings from now. I don't know. But it can happen if you know what your role is. Let's do another slide on the role. So acknowledging your role, I think one of the things that happens is if we skip this step and we jump right into the relationship, your role is decided by default. Now, what do I mean by that? So we don't have any kids in here. You meet the love of your life at the bar, and next week you're moved in. Now, you don't know anything about the love of your life. You just moved in with someone. I mean, if you were looking for a roommate, you would have done more questioning than you did in the bar that night. Right? You would have said, do you like dogs? Oh, no, I don't like dogs. Oh, okay. You don't even know if the love of your life likes dogs. You don't know if he or she has a dog. You don't know anything. You just had a relationship born out of a meeting. So when relationships start like this, they're broken before they even begin. The relationship is already kind of doomed because nobody has any surety about what their role is in the relationship, except in the bedroom or at the bar. Let's do one more, please. Understanding and talking out loud about these ideas are going to be an important first step, especially when something feels broken. You know, sometimes we have a faulty role that's left over from a different time in our life. Ugh, those ones are hard, you guys. You got to do work on those. That's going to take probably some journaling. Sorry, but I really think that's one of the most lucrative mental health exercises an individual can practice, is to write it all down. Just get it out of your head and write it all down. Because when you had a faulty role as a kid and you're bringing it into relationships as an adult, it's not going to pan out. It's not going to help you. It's broken from the get-go. And so the role is going to be hurting you. You keep falling into it like it's putting on your trousers every day. I'm wearing my, whatever my role is, trousers. Let's look at the next slide. So examples of common roles, unconscious. Some of them are just unconscious and they're hardwired into us from childhood. Maybe you're organized. You're just really organized. When somebody's going to, I want to have a garage sale, but I just can't. Oh, I'll come over and help you. I'm really good at that. I can get everything organized. I'll have the piles. We'll have the keep pile. We'll have the save pile. We'll have the giveaway pile. Yeah, and some people are just naturally like that. True? Most of you know somebody like that? Okay, some of these, so the money manager, the caregiver, just hospitality oozing from their pores. They're just going to see it. Publix is calling, so I don't know where Donald is. They're calling on my phone. That's where our lunch is coming from. But anyway, so you have this thing, and it's just naturally part of who you are. So I'm going to tell you what, that part is going to come to you. That part, your spouses or your partner or your children or your dog are going to get used to the fact that you're the hospitality queen, or you're the organizer man that can put everything right, or I'll take care of the money, thank you. Right? It's just what I do. I take care of the money. I know how to do it. I'm good at it, and our credit score will go up. Watch this happen, you know? Some of these are just innate. They're roles that are hardwired, just how you are from childhood. But there's other roles that got unnoticed. You know, they got you noticed, and other people didn't notice that you were putting this on. It's like putting on a Halloween costume and parading around. The rescuer. I got to be honest and tell you, up till about 10 years ago, I had a Superman cape in my closet. I was willing to fly in at a moment's notice and save whoever needed saving. It wasn't even 10 years ago. I really, my daughter's in the back today, and I was at her house once. She was living in Denver, and we were helping her move into this new place. And she was complaining about something, and I was solving the problem, because that's who I am. I'm going to solve the problem for you. And I said, well, this is what you'll do. You'll just do. And she stopped. She goes, Mom, could you just be my mom for a minute and say, oh, your partner sucks. How dare they complain like that about you? Don't solve my problem. Just let me know that you hear me and that it sucks, you know? And I was like, oh, I can do that. But I didn't naturally have that in me. She had to teach me. And then from that experience, I was able to go out to other people, and all of a sudden, when they were talking to me, I would say, are you looking for a solution, or are you just venting? I didn't know to use that question before. Do you get that? My role of solution meister was happening. And I was hurting my relationships with it, but I didn't know, because when I was younger, Solution Meister was a boon. People liked it. People liked the person with the solution. Not so in all relationships. Is that a good example? Do you understand what I'm saying? So think about other stuff. Some of you are drama queens. Sorry, you're not all women either. Some of you are drama queens. Some of you are fixers. Some of you are the smart ones. Some of you are controllers. Some of you are martyrs. Some of you are victims. Please fix me, because I'm a victim. And all this is happening. And you're saying, wait a minute, I got to change that? And I'm saying, only if you want relationships. Okay? If you want to be a martyr, drama queen, controller, fixer, and you're going to be by yourself, it won't matter. But if you start doing those things to other people, they're going to move away from you. Because those things don't feel good unless they asked you. Unless they asked you. Now, I don't know what you'd ask for the drama queen. I've had a great loss in my life, and my goldfish died, and I just haven't cried about it. Could you get me going? Yes, I can get you going. I'm the drama queen, and I will make you feel terrible about that goldfish. But I don't know which one that would do. But the other ones had a purpose. The rescuer, the fixer, the controller. Somebody benefited from that, and you identified that as your superpower, and you took it on. So you need to acknowledge your roles. They're social tools that you've been using, and not all of them are working anymore. Let's do another screen. So my question to you is, are you playing a role in a relationship, or are you living authentically? Some of us adopted these roles to feel significant. It was a way we got our needs met. When I do this, people respond. When I do this, people like me. Maybe you're the party person. When I get drunk, everybody thinks I'm hysterical. Is that real? Is that really what's happening anymore? That might have happened once, twice, 3 times, but is that really who you are? Or is that who you have to be to engage socially because you don't know who you are and you don't know what your role is, so you just go back into that role and play that part? Another slide, please. Some of the old tools can morph into weapons. The party guy, his wife wants him to stop. She wants him to be home at night. She wants Billy to have a bath, and she's not there. Whatever it is. Some of these other ones, my daughter didn't want me to solve her problem. She wanted me to hear her. It was a weapon in my hands at that point. My role had become a weapon. It was hurting her. And if she didn't have the gumption to speak up, she would have let it go and moved away from me. Do you get it? So role weapons are especially destructive to our true selves. What do I mean by our true selves? We all have an authentic person inside us. And we all have the person that does stuff to be pleasing to others, to feel like a sense of belonging is there, to fit in, or to be better than. Or, believe it or not, some of us do it to be worse than. Whatever we are doing, these weapons now are hurting us. It might have worked when you were 12 or 13, but it doesn't work when you're 45 or 60. Okay? It might have been a temporary fix, but you're supposed to grow beyond that and learn who you are and then be that. And then people that like that will gravitate towards you. And people that don't get it will move away from you. And you'll have a really good life. Why is it that if there's 100 people in a room and 99 of them think you're the cat's meow and one of them doesn't like you, that's the one you think about all night? I wonder what I did. I wonder what I said. Did I say something to Fred? I don't know why Fred doesn't like me. I mean, I've always been nice to Fred. And you're missing the party because you're walking around thinking about Fred. Okay? These are things that not knowing your role, not knowing what's authentic about you happens. Without true self, there's very little hope of finding a healthy relationship because you're not bringing a real person to the union. You're bringing the fake you. The role of Beth will be played by, what is it that you like? Yes. I love cats. Do you love cats? Well, I never had a cat till I was an adult. I never had a cat as a kid. Do I love cats? I actually do love cats now. But when I started out, I didn't know if I loved cats. But if you had a cat, I loved cats. You know, you play pickleball? Yeah, me too. Me too. Where's your favorite court? Let's go. I don't know how to play pickleball. Or whatever it is, you start to do what the person says they like so that they like you. I have a story I tell about I used to have a Rolodex in my head. For those under 30, that is a spinny wheel with cards on it that flip. Okay? It's like streaming on your phone, sort of, but different. And you put your contact, I'd put your name at the top of your card, and then I'd put stuff about you that you liked. And then when I'd run into you, maybe I haven't seen you in a year, I'd flip to your card and say, "Oh, how are you, Daryl? How's everything with Penelope, your pet pig?" How did I remember? I don't know. I had Daryl's card in. I'm going to make Daryl, hey, Daryl, you know, I got to tell you, I saw pigs at the farmer's market, and they were the cutest little things. Is yours a part? I would make it all about Daryl because I didn't have a person. I was whoever you wanted me to be because I was people-pleasing to feel like I belonged. But true belonging only happens when you're true to yourself. To thine own self be true. True belonging only happens when you know who that is. So, next slide. What can we do now? Well, we're going to do the work of getting honest, first of all. You know, they say this above all, to thine own self be true, and it must follow as the night to the day that thou canst not be false to any man. So let's do one more. We're going to acknowledge our true role in our relationships. Challenge any false role you uncover. So say you say, oh boy, I really identify with that fixer thing. Challenge it. Is that who you want to be in people's lives? You want to just keep going in? Like you could have a TV show, going in and fixing people and moving on. Do you have a long-term relationship? Nope, because not everybody has a problem every day. And I got to fix a problem every day because that's who I am. Right? Look at your track record. Does it expose a bogus heart desire? That's really important, guys. Do you say one thing and do another? Do you say one thing and do... No, I will be at your soccer game. My boss asked me to work late. And I'm not saying that there's not going to be times when those things happen. But then don't make promises. I will be there if I don't have to work late. Knowing that you needed the money and the extra overtime would help you, then set the person up for honest. Be honest. This is about knowing your role and being honest with yourself and with the other people. Ask your higher power for help to know your specific design plan. What does that mean? Were you designed for hospitality? I was designed for hospitality. I tend to be hospitable. I tend to make people feel safe around me pretty quickly. I don't think I worked up to that. I think I was born this. This would be one of my innate things. Just like somebody else is really good at math, or somebody else is really good at something else. But ask your higher power. In a journal, I'm going to talk about journaling, but write to the higher power and say, help me know what my strengths and my talents are. Because I can't identify them. I'm not sure that the ones I call my strengths and my, talents are really the ones you gave me. Maybe they're the ones I thought I needed to succeed, and success was what I was serving. And then live fully into who you were made to be. Once you kind of know who you are, acknowledge the role that you have in every relationship. You have a role in the relationship with the woman at the market. You have a role. You can be that guy or that girl or that woman. You wouldn't believe how that woman talked to me today. Or you can be, I love when that lady comes. Man, she's so nice. You have a role in every relationship you have. So let's see what B says. Yeah, B is basics on boundaries. How much of yourself will you share with this person? You're looking at a relationship. I didn't know my mother like her friends knew her. I didn't. She didn't share some of her deepest troubles and stuff with me. She just let me feel safe. I didn't have to know if it was a tight month or if, oh darn, she's pregnant again. Sorry. I'm one of 10 kids, so she probably had that one a lot. But, I didn't know her like that. And I think that's okay because her role in my life, she made it so I didn't have to know that about her. And she kind of called the shots on the role. And I grew up with it. And then, at her funeral, she died suddenly when she was young. She was in a car accident. And at the funeral, I heard all these stories about her when she was younger from different people because she was young. So a lot of her contemporaries were still alive. And I was like, wow, she sounds like a pretty cool person. But she was a great mom. But she sounds like a pretty cool person, too. So how much are you going to share with a person? Not all relationships were created for equal levels of commitment. And you get to choose the level of intimacy you decide. If somebody is, You ever have somebody feel like they're like hanging on to you? And you're like, ooh, get off, get off, get off. You get to decide that. You get to say, ooh, you're getting too close. Give me a little space. You get to say that. That's not going to hurt the relationship. That's actually going to help the relationship. I recently had a relationship that I value, that the person was directing me and kind of badgering me about the directives. And I finally amended the relationship, and I just said, I really love you, but when you do this, I want to get away from you. So if you continue to do this, our relationship's really going to suffer. I'm an adult. I'm going to make my own decisions. You don't have to give me directives. I'm going to be okay, and you're going to be okay. And the person was like, oh, I got to think about that. But I'll tell you what, the relationship is better because I spoke my truth. Even if my voice shakes, I spoke my truth, and she heard me. And I love her. And I didn't want her not to be in my life just because she had some beliefs or theories or ideas that she wanted to like sell me. I wasn't buying, and I wasn't interested in hearing the spiel over and over and over. Does that make sense? So now we don't talk about the spiel, we talk about other stuff. And I know we're so much better now because we talk about the stuff that really matters, not the stuff she wants me to think or the stuff I want her to think. Just talk about the stuff we do and how we interact. And that's kind of sometimes how friendships can be. Let's do another one, because boundaries can be emotional, physical, sexual, intellectual, or financial. You can pretty much set a boundary in any aspect of your life where you feel that a boundary is needed. And the boundary is up to you. I mean, we used to have a friend, Dick, that carried a hula hoop around with him. And he was like, well, that's my area of the world. He'd stand in the middle of the hula hoop. I can affect everything inside this hula hoop. And okay, if that's where he wants to build his fence, he can. But there's going to be people that you extend the fence for. Boundaries are really important. Let's do the next one, Tim. Because if we skip this work, others may trespass on inner sacred space. We had that happen at a family reunion. My family gets together for family reunions pretty regularly, and we were up in northern Wisconsin, and each family kind of had their own, I don't know, it's not a cottage, it's more like a cabin, I guess. So in our cabin, it was Donald and I had my two kids, Shay and Luke. Shay had her partner. Ralph had just been born. Ralph was 6 months old, my grandson. And we had Donald's two, Martha and Andy. And this one day I was making lunch in the kitchen, and right off the kitchen was a table. And the young adults were sitting there, and they were talking. And they started dissing one of my strongest beliefs. And I'm making sandwiches for all of them while they're doing that. And as I brought the sandwiches over, I just said, I just think it's really important that you know that the way you're talking about that is really hurting my feelings, because that's really important to me. And it's okay that you don't believe the same way I believe, but I'm feeling really sensitive to it, that you're really dissing me, not just, it's not out there, you're dissing me. What you're talking about is hurting me. And they were like, we didn't mean to hurt you. But you know, if I had not said anything, they wouldn't have known that about me. And they would have tread on my sacred space all the time. None of them in that room have ever tread on my sacred space again. None of them. Because I said, this is sacred space to me. Please be gentle. Because it hurts me personally when you bust me on it. Does that make sense? So boundary, that's a boundary, guys. That's a boundary. Let's do another slide, Tim. When thoughtfully considered, boundary work sets us up for success. Healthy boundaries are like fences. They create safe spaces. Donald told me about this study they did. They put a bunch of kids in this field and let them play. And all the kids stayed in the middle of the field. They were playing the whole time, but they were in the middle of the field. So then they put a fence around the field, and they put a bunch of kids in the field. And the kids were on every side of the field, every side. Like they weren't huddled in the middle. They were everywhere because the fence made them feel safe to explore a little bit further than where they felt safe in the middle. I think that's a great emotional example. Think of the fence as your boundary. With somebody you want to know better, open the fence up a little bit so you'll be able to be a little bit more intimate, show them a little bit more of you. And the boundaries build, let's do the next one. This is a lot of stuff. They build healthy relationships. They build identity protection. You know, you're not the only one with heart desires. The people you're in relationship are with have heart desires too. I talked about that as if you were the one saying, this is my heart desire, but that's not how I'm living. What if that's happening to you? Somebody's telling you that you are their heart desire, but you're not experiencing that by what they're doing. That's when boundaries help. Because the identities are mixed up. And you need to talk about it and set a parameter. I would really like to have one afternoon a week where we meet for coffee away from everybody else. This could be a business partner, a spouse, a child. I want to meet one afternoon a week and just for an hour, clear an hour that we keep for ourselves and find out what's going on with you. That's a boundary. You just set yourself up for success in that relationship. And it will come to be that when you can't do it, you're going to miss it. If there comes a time in your life where all of a sudden I can't do Thursdays anymore, you're going to miss it. You're going to miss it because the exchange that will happen when you're committed to a time frame like that, a boundary time frame, is going to change the way you live. Recognize expectations. Expectations often blow up in our faces. You need to remember you're powerless over other people. You have no power over them. You cannot control them. If that's what you think you can do, that's called manipulation and it feels bad. Manipulation makes people move away from you. You know, it's like the old thing, we're supposed to love people and use things, and sometimes we use people and love things. The boundary work's going to help you with this because you're going to have to set yourself up to see, am I expecting something without talking about it? You know, if I expect somebody, do you need me? If I expect somebody, thank you. If I expect somebody to be there for me, but I don't tell them that, and then they're not there, I don't know what to, I feel crushed. And I won't, next time I see them, I probably won't say anything, but I feel small. And then when they, you know, any other time, I'm just getting smaller and smaller in the relationship because I wasn't honest. That when you do that, it hurts me. When you do that, I feel this. And that feeling hurts. And I want a little break from that feeling, so let's talk about it. So talk about these expectations. Don't just assume people are going to do what you think. Okay, we'll go to the roles for a minute. You think, let's take a role of an employee. Say you're the employer and you have an employee. You think the employee is going to work, right? Not always. Not always. And nobody's laughing at that. I thought that was kind of funny because I'm going to pay you to work, but you're not working. So what's the role problem here? Because I expected you to work. Now, if I hire that same person but give them a job description and tell them exactly what I think they're going to do, that's helping, isn't it? Now when they're not doing it, I said, well, remember in the job description we had ABC, and you're doing D. I don't have a D. I had ABC. And now you can work with that relationship because you had a boundary and you communicated your boundary. And now your boundary is going to help the relationship succeed. This works with lovers, friends, sisters. It works not just with employees. It works with everybody. If you know what is expected in the relationship, you will probably perform better. So improve communication. Boundaries improve communication because all of a sudden you're not aggressive. You're not going from the emotion to the will. Remember that part of the soul? You got the middle one where you can stop. I love it in 12-step they teach think, think, think. Like the first think might be emotional. Second think, you have a choice to reason through this. What is going to be the best for everybody for you to do? The third think is you acting on your will. And hopefully it's loving and kind because you stopped in that middle place for that middle think, that little pause. And the last thing for boundaries, self-care. You get to prioritize your needs, and that makes you have self-respect, and you feel safe. And when you feel self-respect and you feel safe, you're going to be better in your relationships. When you think well of yourself and when you take care of yourself, you're going to be a better person in a relationship. So let's go to the next slide and talk about seeing our part in relation to boundaries. When we first begin the work of healing a broken relationship or creating a healthy new one, we got to see where we're being selfish and self-centered and where that hurts us. And I put the mustache on the B because ego is not your amigo during this work. Because ego is a false self. You can give a million other I bet there's a lot of really good definitions in this crowd for what an ego is. But mostly what it is, it's a false self. It's a self you developed to get through life without being as hurt as you think you would be without it. The ego either wants to puff you up or blow you down. It wants to mess with what you got. Almost like saying, my authentic self is not enough. Could you please come and be everything I need to be so that people will respond to me appropriately? And then you start to build whatever that character is in your mind. Now it would be your avatar. But I'm going to tell you it's your ego. It's your ego. Because you've eased your spirit out. The ego operates in gimme, gimme, gimme. Get my needs met. Afraid I won't get my share. Afraid you're going to take something that's mine. My ego is going to fight for that kind of stuff. My true self can let go and let God. My true self can surrender. My true self can do the work that I sometimes need my spirit nature to help me with. But not the ego. My ego doesn't touch spirit. And spirit exposes ego. So they try to stay away from each other. And spiritual people, if you're in your egoic role, spiritual people will bug you. Like, I don't like her. She's she's touchy-feely or something. I don't know. Almost like I'm afraid you're going to see that I got my mask on. So without boundaries, let's go one more, Tim. Without boundaries, you're going to get burnout. You're going to have trouble communicating your needs. You're going to strain your relationships. Your ego's going to take the wheel. Sorry. That's what happens when relationships start to get burned out. We just give the wheel to the false self. Just keep me out of the ditch, drive, just try not to make it into the ditch. So what are we going to do? So we'll do one more, Tim. Boundary how-tos. Identify where you stop and someone else starts. That sounds ridiculous, but In our society, especially if you didn't establish roles at the beginning, people are glomming into each other and thinking that they are each other. I mean, the Titanic, you complete me. What? You complete me? What does that mean? You know? You had some cellular amoeba thing that I was missing? We can't complete another person, but we can creatively collaborate with another person. We can bring out the best in each other, but I don't need to be completed, because where I start and where I stop is me, and where you start and you stop. You know, there are people that are addicted to two-legged drugs. Maybe you know some of them. They can't make their own decisions without checking with their two-legged drug. So what else do boundaries do? They set limits and they help you stick to them. It's just like, oh, I don't do that. A boundary, okay. I don't eat sugar. So I had this sore throat. A lot of people said, I got a cough drop. And I said, you know, I don't eat sugar, and I don't want to spark that, oh, it's a sugar-free. I know, but it tastes like sugar. And I will think, my body will tell me I'm eating sugar. Go for it. Go get cake. Stop. Let's get an ice cream cone at McDonald's on the way home. You know? Whose birthday is it this week? I'm making cake. You know, but that's me with sugar. Okay? Now, I set a limit and I stick to it. No sugar is really easy. I know this about me. Some sugar is not easy for me. I'm not able to really control it, so some is not good for me, but no is good. I can do no way easier than some. I don't even think about it anymore. Now take that and replace sugar with stuff, with behaviors you can't deal with somebody who's always lying to you, for an example. Set a limit and then stick to it. I'm sure a lot of people in this crowd have had teenage children. How do you raise a teenage child? You set a limit and you stick to it. It's really hard to stick to it when you love them so much. But if you said you're going to be grounded till Friday, they're going to be in your house till Friday with you, and it's going to suck. But you got to stick to it so they know. Set a limit and stick to it. Learn to say no. You don't have to be everything to everybody. You can say no. No, I can't. That's pretty much a nutshell. Do you need any more on that one? No, right? That's your answer. Be respectful. Okay, means to do again, right? Spect means to, spectacles, to see. Being respectful is looking at them again, not passing over them, not overlooking their needs or their wants. Being respectful is looking at them again and saying, yes, I see you, and I can be kind to you. I see you. That's what respect means, to see them again and again. And finally, reinforce the above when necessary. We're going to do C really quick before we go to lunch. C is the most important one. C is for communication, and lack of quality communication is the biggest problem in relationships. Without honest communication, trust, hope, harmony, out the window. Not even possible. So communication is key, but if there's a shim, are you guys passing the basket now? Okay. Sorry guys, I didn't know. Communication is the key, but if there's a shim that holds the door open once you open the door, it's going to be honesty. So if you're going to communicate and be dishonest, just don't count on that relationship going anywhere, because it won't. All right? It won't go anywhere. But if you're going to communicate and be honest, you got a shot. That's going to hold the door open for the relationship to flourish. Oh, sorry, you guys, I didn't know. Okay, we're doing this right now. I'll hold on a minute. I'll drink the tea they brought me. Okay, let's go to a good screen. Examples of faulty communication. Passive aggression. Don't you love that one? Instead of addressing a conflict head on, you hide your anger. So you crack jokes about it. You give them the silent treatment. You make digs. Oh yeah, well, oh yeah, well, you know. And you express your frustration, but it's not honest. It's not honest. Sarcasm can fit into this really, really well. So if you're a sarcastic person, I ask you to check that. Because sarcasm is for the intellectually witty. We think we're so sharp because we can get in, get out, cut them, sew them up. We're like the plastic surgeon of character assassination with our sarcasm. And we're hurting people, so be careful. It might feel satisfying in the moment, but it's not going to serve you in the long run. So what do you got next, Tim? I'm on a different slide, so let me see where we're at. Okay. Let me see what the slide says, because I don't have that one. Okay, avoiding issues or sweeping them under the rug. Have you guys done that one? Yeah, well, eventually the rug's going to get pulled out from underneath you when you do that. So if you sweep it under the rug, just talk about it. Just talk about it. It's going to be uncomfortable no matter when you talk about it. Choose to talk about it. And you can even lead with this. I need to talk to you about something that's going to be really uncomfortable. Are you up for it now, or you want to wait a little bit? And then you talk about it. Isn't that amazing? I promise you that works. And some people say, I don't want to talk about it. You say, yeah, I know, but I need to. Would you rather if I write you a letter and you write me back? Communication doesn't have to be face-to-face if the person can't do it. Remember, that other person has a heart too. And their heart desire might be telling them that you're in the top 5, but that's not what's playing on their movie screen. So they might need a different way to communicate, but keep pushing for it. Okay, let's do another one, Tim. Here's the passive-aggressive. Sorry, I already did that one, but I'll revisit it again. It's not being honest about what you think. Go ahead, Jane.
I think it's also being fine. Are you okay? No, I'm fine.
Fine. Yeah.
No, I'm fine.
That's like a step above the silent treatment. Yeah, no, I'm good. Yeah, get away from me. Okay. The next one, the faulty communication, this one will look familiar to some of us. Aggressive speech, being openly defensive or hostile. You're in a toxic communication pattern. If this is how you talk to each other, this is toxic. Okay, this is poison. And it's going to be really hard to heal a relationship while you're using this kind of communication, because what's happening is you're both feeling so powerless over where you're at right now in the relationship that you just have to lash out at each other. And you're really going to have to set some boundaries to have the conversations you need to have, even if it's like, let's sit across the room from each other. And this sounds really stupid, but sentences can't be more than 7 words long. Limit the number of words, because when you're angry, you get on the roll. And I remember once I was at work and I was on a roll, and my assistant manager came up and she's rubbing my back saying, honey, you're saying this out loud. Sorry. This is not in your head. This is not in your head. She said, and I was like, I didn't feel well, and I had lost my temper. And she had to kind of remind me that I was not doing a good job communicating right then. So raising your voice, blaming and criticizing, dominating the conversation are examples of what this looks like. And most of us know what it looks like. We've seen it or been part of it. But you don't have to be. You can change it. Now, if the one person wants to continue attacking and you want to change it, that's a lot harder to do. And you might need a mediator in that. You might need somebody that sits in the room with you while you learn how to refrain from attack and learn how to talk to each other with respect. Again, I see you, respect. I see you, I see you. I keep looking at you, I see you. You're important. I'm trying to hear you too. But right now I'm looking at you. Got it? Okay, examples, another one. Another one is assuming you know what the other person thinks. I do this to Donald all the time. Donald is really funny because he tells me stuff like, you know, guys don't always think about stuff. They're not always thinking about anything specific. What does that mean? I mean, what do you mean by that? What? You're not thinking of anything? Not really. I was thinking about what I'd have for dinner, maybe. I don't know. And I'm just like, we're in the middle of this and you're thinking about dinner? And he's like, yeah, what are you thinking about? And I'm like, so, or have you ever been the person? I've been this person who says, I know what you're thinking. No, you don't. That you have that person that answers you like that? No, you don't. Yeah, I do. I know what you're thinking. No, you don't. You don't know what I'm thinking. And then you get in a fight about, do I know what you're thinking or not, you know? It's pride and ego are tied into that. I know what they're thinking. And you're thinking it's pride, like I'm so smart, I know what you're thinking. It's not. It's I'm so little and low and not deserving that I know you're thinking this bad thing. That's usually what it is, guys. We are such harsh critics of ourselves so that when we're in a place where we think we know what someone's thinking, I bet it's that one guy, Fred. I bet it's Fred. I'm thinking about Fred. That party was last Thursday, but boy, Fred's still on my mind. What did I do to him? Do you get what I mean? We think lowly of ourselves often. Nobody wants to talk to a know-it-all. So ideas for the big problem, which is communication. Many of us enter conversations with people who are important to us as though they are debates or arguments that we must win. Have you ever been in a fight with somebody that you love and you don't even know what you're talking about anymore because you're just trying to win? You know? That will not hurt the dog. The dog can have that. That chew toy is a good chew toy. And I researched that. I didn't research it, but I know it's a good chew toy. And, and all of a sudden you hear yourself and you're like, wait, I'm fighting about a chew toy. But we set ourselves up with people we love often to be in conflict. That's not good. A discussion is not a competition. It's an opportunity to understand another person and their perspective. And then the last thing here, how we listen to others tells them how much we value them. This is a critical skill in developing and maintaining healthy relationships. You have to be quiet sometimes and listen. And sometimes you don't have to have an opinion, you just have to nod. And every once in a while, like my daughter taught me, you have to say, oh man, that sucks. Oh yeah, that's bad. Bad, bad, bad. So the benefits is the next one. The benefits of quality communication: less anxiety and worry. When you talk it out, you don't have to stew about it later. You speak directly to the person that you have the issue with. That's huge. Greater intimacy. Emotional connection requires mutual give and take and reciprocal self-disclosure. And less conflict. With regular sharing, there's a reduced chance of hurt feelings. It's not like welling up and finally you got your chance to talk and it's little bits at a time. It's little bits at a time. So we're going to go through these hallmarks pretty quick. First one is active listening. And you'll see you get a little trophy, active listening award. You're listening, you're asking, wait, I didn't understand that. Say that again in a different way. I'm looking at you, I've got eye contact, I'm nodding, blah, blah, blah. Next one. Don't personalize it. It's not about you, you know. Don't assume the actions of the other person are about you. Focus on the issue at hand, you know. Let the other person say it all before you say my part, you know. I was meeting a woman, this is years ago, at Panera, and on the radio, as I was pulling in, they're telling about that tidal wave in Sri Lanka. And that was years ago. My kids were little. But there was a huge tidal wave, really wiped out a lot of people, and it was horrible on that side of the world. And my doctor, my kid's doctor, Dr. Luigi Telekia, was a pediatrician, and he was there visiting his family. And so I'm listening, thinking, oh my gosh, I hope Dr. Luigi is okay. So I came in, I was a couple minutes late. I said, I'm sorry I'm late, I just heard about that tidal wave in Sri Lanka. And the woman said, you know, I was in a big wave when I was a kid in Texas. And she just went into this, launched into this 20-minute story about this wave. And I had a really hard time because she took my angst and made it about her and then didn't stop talking about it. And I had to really work to regroup, to be available to her because I was put off. Okay, the next one, the good communication, is talk about yourself. No finger pointing award. Woo! Talk about the I, you know. Remember when you do this, I feel that. And remember your heart's desires. Do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? Sometimes a heart's desire is, I want to win. I want to win this discussion. Next one, be fully present. That's the full attention award. We are, I'm sorry, hang on a minute. Okay, the fruit platter at Publix. I just got to read this. Right? Or you're out with someone and they have the phone on the table and they're talking to you and they keep going, ding. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. Okay. These things, a lot of good, a lot of bad. Don't let them ruin your relationships. Okay? Be fully present. That last line says it all. Distractions destroy communication. The next award is the Kindness Award. This one seems obvious, but sadly, the closer the relationship, the higher chance this will be overlooked. I love that Al-Anon friends say, say what you mean what you say, but don't say it mean. And the last of the awards is accept and validate. It's the You Matter Award. You know you're powerless over other people, right? So act like it. Don't try to control them, push them, manipulate them. Speak your truth and let them be who they are. Honor them. Honor the wonderful spark of divinity that they are. It's different than yours. And validate their worthiness. You know how many people don't know they're worthy? In America, this land of plenty where we have all this stuff. I mean, I brushed my teeth with water that came out of a faucet this morning. Did anybody else? They're not doing that in Kenya. They're lucky if there's nothing in the water. They don't have a toothbrush. They might not have teeth. Do you get what I'm saying? So when you let somebody know that they matter and that just by the fact that they're in relationship with you, they have worth because you see them, you respect them, that's what you want to be. That's who people will be, they'll be drawn to you. That's the attraction, not promotion we always talk about. So love unconditionally whenever possible. So now you know your ABCs. Go have lunch, and I'll see you back here in 35 minutes, okay, because we're going to tie it up. That would be 12:15, all right? Lunch is ready. I'm sure Sam has it laid out. And if you want to talk to me, I'll be right here if anybody has something they want to talk about. Let me turn this microphone off, though. 'Tis the plan. Stick to the plan.
And this is very eye-opening, and that's how I do my job at El Cid.
Oh.
Because I didn't listen to you. I didn't do the ABC. I did the D. That's, yep, my way.
Okay. Okay, everybody, let's get going. Yeah, could you? Set a boundary. Here's the first one. Yeah. Look for the balloons and you'll find Ralph. No, I'd like you to get them, please. Okay, here come the masses. So, the ABCs of healing relationships and creating stronger, healthier ones in the future. We'll take a slide now. You know, we wanted to begin the healing adventure with reviewing the soul. You know, a lot of times we hear body, mind, spirit, and it's really soul, because soul is a bit bigger than mind. I always think of mind as just the reasoning portion, and it doesn't take into effect my emotions or my actions, what I choose to do from what I'm thinking. So when I expand it to understand how they work together, it really helps me understand how to change the way I respond to things. Because I can feel something, and feelings aren't always true. Sometimes they're you know, maybe they're selfish, maybe they're wrapped up in selfishness or wrapped up in a memory of another time. And I feel that same way, so I think it's bigger than what it is. So the spirit, the soul, which is the emotions, the reasoning, and the will, and the body. Most relational breaks are found in the soul. It's in what we think and how we communicate what we think. Let's go to another slide. So when there is okay. It's a different slide than what I have, but let me see what I got. Okay, so when you see the change in that, if the soul were a swimming pool and the emotions were the shallow end, and you dive in there, you'd get hurt, right? That's kind of like what this is about. I actually read that in a book by a woman named Joanna Weaver. She wasn't talking about the soul, she was talking about something else. But it's the same thing. If you dive into the emotions and you don't wade in to the emotions and move into the deeper end and move into the deep end, you're going to get scratched up and stuff. And that's kind of what this is. What we value most is evidenced by what we do in the deep end of the soul, by what we do. I know you're not a human doing, you're a human being, but, I'm going to echo, but that being said, you think about what's most important before you take your action. So why do I think that relational brokenness starts in the heart? Let's do a slide, Noah. The heart is the place where our greatest longings hang out. And we might believe that these desires that we have in our heart are purely selfless, but sometimes our actions tell a different story. So when I'm on my own, I'm pretty good with my heart desires. But when I add another person in the mix, I start to act out. Now I got some conflict. There's a little friction. There's a little bit more I need to do. So when there is relational conflict, we have to stop and determine what our actions prove that we value most. Not tell ourselves what we value most. Look at our actions and say, what does that say that I value most? The heart was designed to hold a personal understanding of a higher power, and it's supposed to hold it there. That's where it's supposed to be, in the heart. So when that understanding is in place, it's almost like it brings with it your personal standards of morality and ethics. That place is held, and all of a sudden, if you're acting by that, you're going to act differently with other people. That's kind of a hard concept, but your other relationships will thrive because you're in right standing here, and with that right standing, you know what your standards are. Your standards. I'm not saying my standards or church's standards or the standards they beat into you with a hickory stick or whatever they used to call it. But I mean, you know what your personal standards are. All right? So when we know what that is, and we have a higher power kind of thing in place, and we go out from there, it's easier to relate with others only because we already have a relationship going inside us. So let's do another slide. So to mend relational brokenness or to create new healthy unions, this is what we said we were going to do so far. Oh, we're on different slides again. Let's do one more. See what I get. Yeah, I think that looks good. Okay, we're going to begin the work by acknowledging our role. What's my part? What do I want my part to be? What role do I want to have in this relationship? And this might be the first time you ever consciously realize that you get a say in this. You know? Were you told what you were supposed to be like as a sister? Well, you're my sister. I thought for sure you'd at least fill in the blank. Oh, that's part of my role? I didn't take that on. I'm sorry. I didn't know that was part of my role. Do you get what I'm saying? What do you think it is? What if you get into a romantic relationship and one person believes this and another person believes this? And I have a really good friend named Ed, and he talks about having to reload the dishwasher every time his wife loads it because she does it wrong. And it's a point of contention. And it's kind of funny when you think about it, but he goes, now I just sneak in and do it quietly. So he's learned how to get the dishwasher loaded the way he likes without causing a ruckus. But he wasn't able to let it go and just let the dishwasher go the way it was loaded. What do you want in your life? You get to decide. It is your role. You get to call the boundaries. You get to acknowledge what you think it is. Let's do another one. When we begin the work of acknowledging our part, and then we look at the boundaries that the relationship in question might need to help it succeed. What does that mean? You have to have a place of rest. You know that, right? Some of us get going so fast we forget to rest, and others of us only rest. We never get going. There is a nice happy medium where you get to do both. So the boundaries will help you with that. And boundaries serve everybody in the relationship. It's not just, you know what? My backyard fence makes me a better neighbor because I have a dog. And when he gets out in the backyard, he can't go in their yard. I don't have to be checking up on him. My fence in my backyard makes me a better neighbor. Sounds like a simple little illustration, but it's really true. So when you know what you can do and what's not comfortable, that's a great relationship. You can say to people, whatever it is, what's your thing? I had my younger brother and his wife were here staying with us for a few days. And I think they have the news on in their house all the time. And we don't. And every chance he could, he was trying to look at the news. And I finally just said, Jim, do you want to put the news on the TV? And he was like, oh yeah, I would. And I was like, okay, that's fine. But I didn't have to sit in the room with him. It's not that I don't like the news or didn't want to be. I just have other stuff to do than sit and watch the news. It's my role is different than his role just in the world, much less in our relationship. Is this making sense for you? You get to be who you are. You don't have to be who you don't want to be. And it's okay. Let's do another slide. We admitted that we practice flawed communication rituals to get our way or to protect our heart's desire. And we're going to try and do better, right? We're going to use honesty as a starting point and try to share honestly with the people with whom we want to be in relationship. I mean, the woman checking you out at the market, doesn't need to know. I know I have a lot of sugar here, but I'm not eating it all alone. I'm having people over. But some of us tell her that. Right? That's missing the point on the communication. The wine is not for me. Right? There's a time and a place to share. And there's different levels of intimacy depending on the relationship. Some of us were talking in the break, and we were talking about relationships that have been injured in the past. And the reality is, it doesn't matter what I remember happened if you perceived it in a different way. It doesn't matter. So my best bet for that broken relationship is to start where I'm at right now. Challenge my role. Live into the role. Look at the person. What do I want in this relationship? What do I want my role to be in this relationship? It's not going to wipe out the past. The past has to be part of what I'm bringing to the role. And their perception may be completely different than what my perception of the past is. And I have to live into that role. And sometimes it's so uncomfortable, isn't it? Especially when someone has a completely different perception of what happened in the past than what you have. But I've had it too. I've told you before at other workshops, the 8-year-old girl in the hospital making up what was going on in her head because nobody told me. Nobody communicated with me, so I made up my answers. And then I believed them. I went to the doctor this week on Thursday. And I got the physician's assistant instead of the doctor. And she was going over these blood tests that I had to have. And she says, now, if you continue to have, and she said, this or that, I'd like to hear from you. And I said, yeah, but you won't. And she goes, I'm sorry. And I said, well, Dr. Shapiro knows that I won't call. I won't call. If it doesn't go away for a really long time, I would call. But generally, we're going to blow it off in the hope that it's nothing. And she goes, are you serious? And I said, yeah, that's pretty much how I work with doctors. I said, I always tell them right up front. It's not that I'm dishonest. I omit stuff you want to know. You have to actually ask me. And she started laughing, and she goes, I've never had anybody be that honest. And I said, well, I mean, I don't want to get sick, but at the same time, if I think it's something, I'll tell you. But I'm not going to call you every time I have something. I just don't like doctors that much. That's from when I was 8 years old. I'm still having relationship issues from a situation when I was 8 years old. But all I can tell you is that's who I am. I'm not really sure I trust the medical profession all the time. I'd like to say as an adult I know that they're doing the best they can, but they practice medicine, so I'm careful. And I'm honest. I tell them, I might not be able to do that. Okay? It's the best I can do with that relationship. And it's my relationship. I'm not telling you to do that. Don't do that. Do everything they say. You know, to call them whenever you get a hangnail. I don't care. I want you to be healthy. But the reality is I know myself, and I won't do that. So we're going to continue on with this, but it's really important that you know that those first things, the ABC, acknowledge your role. Have your boundaries. Communicate. Communicate as honestly as you can, even if it's uncomfortable. And you can even lead in with, this is really uncomfortable, but I think I have to tell you how I feel. All right? You know, when Donald and I first got married, we got our dog, Rooney. And we have a cat that we inherited from her in the back of the room. And Mouse, the cat she named, is bipolar and bulimic. Okay? Truly. Those of you that have come to our house go, oh, that's a cat you can't touch. Yeah, because you don't know if she's going to purr or slash you, you know, because she's bipolar and bulimic. Probably just really sensory, heightened sensory. And she will binge and purge. I don't know why she does it though, but she does it. And so when Donald has had cats all his life, so he's like, this is a really strange cat. And I'm like, yeah, I know, she's a little different, but she's getting better. Let's pray for her. So anyway, so when we got Rooney, he said one day in passing, this is at like 6 o'clock, he said, you know, we might have to do something with Mouse if she can't get along with Rooney. That's all he said. I knew what he was saying. I didn't ask him, but I knew. So for the next 3 hours, I thought about what he was saying. And I was building all kinds of sandcastles in my mind of what that meant. So at 10 o'clock, we go to bed. I get in bed and I said, Donald says, men always, this would be something you should talk about in your relationship. If you want to have a heavy talk, could we have it before we get in bed? Because getting in bed, I want to go to sleep. Okay, but I didn't know the rule yet. So we got in bed. And I said, I have to talk to you about something that's really troubling me. And he was like, what? What's troubling you? And I said, you know, I'm the only human being that's been a constant in that cat's life. You know, my daughter came and went with college and things, and if I did something with her, they wouldn't keep her alive, you know, and we have to keep that cat. And he was like, of course we do. Of course we do. And I said, what do you mean, of course we do? You said we're going to have to do something. And he goes, oh, no, I was just blowing off steam because she swiped at Rooney. And I said, well, I've just had 4 hours of hell. You know, figuring out how I'm going to tell you that I need to keep the cat, you know. And the reality is that we hadn't built our communication up yet. You know, we were communicating, and we communicate pretty honestly, but we hadn't, I was still trying to read into what he meant and stuff instead of saying, I don't know what you mean. See how easy that is? I don't know what you mean we have to do something with Mouse. What are you saying? You know, I just had it go through my head, and I had all this stuff. So those ABCs, really important. Know your role. Have your boundaries and communicate. And when you're not sure what they're saying, say, I don't know what you mean. Can you say it a different way? Or if you have to communicate something, this is really uncomfortable, but I have to say this out loud, and you have to hear me. You have to pay attention and hear me. Okay? So the ABCs. Let's go on to D, E, F. So we're going to continue through the next 3 letters and see what we can do. So D, the next one, please. The next D is for duty. And I don't mean like duty. I mean duty, like Girl Scouts, like Boy Scouts, like Cub Scouts, like Marines. Maybe Marines, I should have gone there first, right? Cub Scouts was a little low. But so I put what the definition is if you look it up. I always like to give Merriam credit because Webster has gotten way too much credit all these years. So Merriam says that it's a moral or legal obligation, a responsibility, and also a task or action that someone is required to perform, a duty. So D is for duty. When we take responsibility for our actions and how they impact our partner or some other person, we change the dynamics of the relationship, and we create an atmosphere where trust and dependability can grow. I take it seriously. It is my job to be in this relationship with you. I have a role and I'm going to fulfill it. You have boundaries and I'm going to honor them. We are going to communicate when we're at odds or when we don't understand. This is my duty. You know, I swear I will do this duty because I want this relationship. If you had a job that you really liked, you would do what they asked you to do to keep the job, right? Why don't we do that with our relationships? Why do we just take them for granted, especially the ones that are closest to us? The ones of the people we love the absolute most, we just assume they're going to keep loving us, even though we're not honoring our part of the commitment, not filling the duty that we told them. This is who I am in the relationship. I'm going to honor your boundaries. Oops. Oh, that was my duty. I'm sorry. I stepped in that duty. I'll honor them again now, you know? And then I'm going to communicate. And then we don't do those things. But we have a duty. Let's do another one. So responsibility is going to grow. Trust and dependability. So responsibility, can it be as simple as the ability to respond? Responsibility. Can it be that simple? Because accepting our duty means that I know my part and that I still love you, or I still care about you, or I still want this relationship. Even if it's an employer-employee. It can be my dog, you know? Or the cat. I know I have to clean up the throw up, but I am concerned that you're bulimic. But I really don't like it. I don't like cleaning that up, but I love the cat. And so I clean it up. And you know what else? Except when I'm up here, I don't complain about it. I mean, people that hang out with me don't know how much I've cleaned up cat throw up. The girl who gave me the cat, who left the cat when she left for college, she doesn't even know how much cat throw up I've cleaned up. Now, if we want to talk about when I stepped in it because I didn't know she threw up, how many times that was? Oh, that's a high number too. But that's the thing, because I have a duty in my relationship with Mouse, with my cat. I have a duty. And that's, we're joking about it with a cat, but it's any relationship. Let's do another one. This is really key. Are you going to react or are you going to respond? So again, I'm breaking down my words. Means to do again. Act means to take action, right? Means to do again. Spond means to promise or pledge. Ooh. I'm not taking any action. I'm promising or pledging. Or maybe that is an action, but it's a different kind of action. It's an action that I have to reason through. I can't just go from my emotion to attack you. You said what? I hate you. I can't do that if I'm responding. When you said that, I think, oh gosh, the moon's full. I should have known she was going to say crazy stuff. And the next action is, I'm going in my room and shutting the door. You get the difference? Because when a difficult emotion hits, if you act immediately, you've missed the middle part of your soul nature. You've gone from the shallow end to the deep end, and nobody can keep up with you swimming that fast. You've gone from, I feel this, which may or may not be true. Feelings are not always right. They are indicators. They are very important, and we should respond to them. We should check into them with our minds, with our intellect, with our ability to reason, with our, what it all is in that middle one, the reasoning. I can call somebody who's been there. Oh, I remember you were so mad at this, and I'm really mad about the same thing right now. What did you do? In that middle place of reasoning, I have so many tools. But if I go from emotions to action, I cut off my tool supply. I just have a hammer. I have a hammer. I'm good. And the relationship is going to get banged. So remember your duty or pledge to the other person. Remember you took on a role? You're honoring boundaries. You're communicating. Respond. Don't react to people if you can. Use your whole soul, not just the shallow and deep ends. Use the whole thing, because the middle ground is like, you know how they have black and white and then they have that gradient in the middle? That's the middle. The middle is so big compared to the absolute black, absolute no black, you know? That gray area of gradient is full of opportunities and experiences and wisdom, and you can Google anything these days, right? That does not mean what you get is true. But you could Google it in that little minute. Just don't talk for a little bit. We call it the pause. Pray and use spiritual energy. Help me, I'm gonna go off, you know? So let's look at the relational duty perks. Honesty. That's a really good perk, because both parties are free to own their own mistakes and admit their own failures. Do you have somebody in your life that you can just say, I dropped the ball, I missed the mark? That's a really good relationship if you have that, if you can just be honest with them. Respect. Parties consider values, feelings, roles, and privacy of all involved. You don't think about privacy when I say respect, do you? I see you, but they don't. I won't tell them what I saw if you don't want me to. That's part of a relationship. Transparency. You become vulnerable and you're open. If you don't have to hide anything, you're doing great. But if you're hiding something from someone with whom you're in relationship, I'm not saying that that's not okay. I'm just saying that notice that that's a boundary that you've set. So if you wanted more intimacy in that relationship, you won't get it while you're hiding something. Okay? There's a new, new to me, but I'm getting older. But young women that I work with, every once in a while, when their partner leaves the room, they look at their phone. They look at the phone to see what's been going on. And I find that very troubling. I'm like, why? No, okay. Oh, I understand you do that. Yeah. So why is that your partner? Why are you with this person? You don't trust them. You're going to try and build a life with someone you don't trust? And they're like, well, no, I trust him. Then don't touch the phone. Then don't touch his phone. And if you're going to touch his phone, admit that you don't trust him. Because you can't have a healthy relationship if you have to check the phone when he leaves the room. It's just not going to happen. But it can be any kind of hiding. Now, parents, hide this stuff from the kids. They don't need to know. You know, that's a different thing. I'm going to hide some stuff from my kids because I don't want them to see it, know it, touch it, feel it, whatever it. I don't want that. And that's a boundary. Do you get that that's a healthy boundary? I hope you do. You know, I hope you do. Okay, accountability. That's a perk from duty. Because you can follow up with the person you're in relationship without being afraid they're going to just walk away. Because once you're accountable, accountability becomes easier. But you got to be accountable all the time. So if you go from we're in perfect bliss to I did all this bad stuff, I got to tell you something. Wait, there was a whole bunch of bad stuff here. You got to tell them all now? Couldn't you have stopped when you first did the first bad one and been accountable? And then stopped again and said, uh-oh, I still did it. I did it again. Okay? It's part of that is accountability it's constant in a quality relationship. Again, depending on the level of intimacy you're looking for with the person. Listening skills. It's really great to be heard, isn't it? I love when somebody's listening to me and they hear me. Somebody, especially if I've been injured or I'm feeling sensitive about something, I usually talk to people right away when I feel injured because I don't want to walk out of the room with it. And people aren't used to that because it's so much easier to pretend like it didn't matter. And it really matters that it mattered. Natural compromise, you don't fight your way out, and needs attained. You can ask for what you need, even if it's more communication or help. Or I need you to reset that boundary. I'm bumping into it a lot. That Thursday afternoon off isn't working for me. Can you do Tuesday? Whatever it is. It doesn't have, it's just get your needs. Tell the person what your needs are. Needs and wants are different. We know that, right? But what you need, if you need it, need it. Another one, this one's going to be quick. It looks like a Valentine card, doesn't it? Duty can override the blame game. Because the blame game is when something's wrong, you did it. But if I have a duty to you, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to live into my role. I'm going to take accountability for my part. I'm going to see how you were set up for that by some of my actions. And I don't mean that that's always like that, but sometimes it's like that, you guys. And it's so much easier if you didn't get caught to just let them think it's all them. But if it's a good relationship you want, look at your part. And don't blame. Don't look to blame someone else. Always look to grow through the pain, grow from it. You know, don't waste any pain without growth. Don't go through pain in your relationships and then not grow through it. Because you'll just have to have more pain to grow again. If you decide later, I'm going to grow through this, and you're just going to have more and more pain. So duty means sacrifice. One more, Noah. Sometimes being in a quality relation will cost you. But I got to be honest, the sacrifice is worth it. The price is worth what you get back if it's a good relationship. If you have a relationship where you can be who you are, you can be honest, you can be open. Do you remember the book, The Emperor's New Clothes? And nobody would tell the emperor that the guy was a shyster. And the emperor was having a new suit fashioned, but only the really intelligent could see the suit, could see the fabric. So the guy is sewing and there's nothing there. And nobody would say, wait, what is he sewing? I can't see it. And because that would mean you're intellectually inferior, because anybody of quality intellect can see this fabric. So finally, the emperor's in a parade wearing his new suit. And a little boy cries out, he doesn't have any clothes on. And everybody's like, oh. And then the emperor was like, oh, I got hoodwinked. You know, like he all figured it all out. But that's the deal. What's the price? I tell you this one price. Honesty, try to keep that. If you can maintain honesty with somebody, even when you're scared, and what are you going to be scared? You're going to be scared they're going to reject you, abandon you, make you feel insignificant, right? Those are pretty much the three big ones that we fear. But so we have a crummy relationship instead. I got to be honest, rather than having a crummy relationship, I'd almost rather be rejected. At least then I know where I stand. You know, and you can even say, you can reject me. You can overlook me. I hate that one. You can overlook me. You can abandon me. You can tell me to go away. But I want to tell you this. And then tell them your truth. It might just be, I love you, and I hate the wedge that's in between us. And I don't know how to make it better because I can't change the past. But can we start from right now and start anew? Can we start a new relationship? Because I really want a relationship with you. And I'll take on whatever terms you can give me. You can build your own boundaries and I'll honor them. But I want to be in communication with you. And I want to roll in your life. And that's really scary, isn't it? Because what if they say no? I don't want you in my life. Because they might. But I'll tell you what, they'll always know they did that. And there might be a day when they come back. Because they'll see their part all of a sudden. Because we each have a part in every relationship we have. And sometimes the sacrifice we have to make is our own pride and ego and sensitivity and fear of being rejected. So that was D, duty. Remember duty. E is for examine yourself. Next slide there, Noah. Again and again and again, what do we do if we take the time to do this? People who self-examine regularly gain the wisdom to know the difference, which is what there's a serenity prayer, the first 3 lines of it. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I can't change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And if you do self-examination, that's where you're going to get wisdom. No matter where you look at, if you look at the Tanakh, which is a Jewish holy book, the Tanakh will say that wisdom is the ability to live life on life's terms. Isn't that funny? I've heard that term before, and I didn't hear it from a Tanakh. I was like, oh, okay. But what it's talking about is know who you are, because you're changing. You're changing. Hopefully you're getting better. But if you're self-examining regularly, you will be getting better. The things that used to baffle you, you're going to be getting through them in a different way. You're going to be building relationships that can help you. You're going to know how to ask for help. This is going to happen if you self-examine regularly. And you'll get this wonderful gift of wisdom. Let's flip again, Noah. And wisdom helps when you're having conflict. Because when we're checking ourselves every day, when we go this way, we kind of know what we can, there's a little more elasticity, so to speak. I'm aware of my failings. I just wrote them down, is what I'm going to say. I just spoke to myself about them. I just saw them in the mirror. And now I'm coming to be with you, and I don't want to do that. And so I'm going to approach you a little bit differently. And when you see patterns and you're in a conflict, you'll more quickly see your part. Recently I had somebody I really care about having a bad day and kind of took it out on me and blamed me. And it was really hard to sit there and allow them to vent when their recollection and their comments weren't how I remembered anything. And And I had to sit there and let them have their time because I knew that I was going to grow from it. And I knew that the only shot they're going to have of growth is to expel that junk that's swimming around in their head like a pool with algae, you know? And maybe to get it out was going to help them. And I'll be honest, I was hooking up with my higher power. I was saying, okay, keep my mouth shut. Help me not respond or react. Let me just sit here and take it. And it was really hard to do. But you know what? I self-examine every day. I write in a journal every morning. And I know some of the failings that I have. And I know where what's on my heart, when something's really passionate on my heart, I call myself a hurdle jumper. So I'm jumping the next hurdle. And the people on the periphery can be injured from that because I don't see them. Like the respect, see them? I don't see them when I'm hurdle jumping. And I'm not always hurdle jumping. It's not always a race. But when I'm in a race, I'm looking for the next hurdle. And I'm jumping it. And you might get lost on the sidelines. You might say, I was at your race, Beth. I saw you. Did you see me? And I would say, nope. I was looking at the next hurdle. Thanks for the support, kind of thing. Let's do another slide, Noah. So spiritual heat, it's a journaling technique I came up with. There's a book that I read, and it says that if I can practice self-examination and join it with prayer and meditation, that I will have an unshakable foundation for life. And when they said that, when I read it over 30 years ago, when I read that, I was like, oh, I want that. I want an unshakable foundation for life. Most of you know that I managed the Ocean Grill for a long time. And when Waldo Sexton built that building, he just laid a concrete slab on the beach, 300 yards from the ocean. It was a long way to the ocean. And he built this building. And in I think the 50s, I can't remember what year, they opened the Sebastian Inlet. Sebastian Inlet is a man-made inlet. It's not a natural inlet. It was made by man to get us from the river to the ocean. And when they opened up that inlet, the tide pattern changed. And it started to erode the beach in front of the Ocean Grill. So now when you see there's Little Beach in front of the Ocean Grill restaurant in Vero Beach, you'll see a big beach at the moorings because they got the sand that was in front of the Ocean Grill. It moved it that way. And I remember the day I looked out. I was in a little apartment on the beach, and I looked out the window and I saw silverware washing up on the beach. And I said, I better call my job. This doesn't look good. And sure enough, the sand had eroded underneath the concrete slab, and the concrete broke. And the stuff in the restaurant fell into the ocean. I want an unshakable foundation for life. I don't want to build my life on sand where different people can crack my concrete and put my stuff all over the beach just because they're having a storm. I want an unshakable foundation for life. And they said if I did self-examination with prayer and meditation, I would get that. And I got to be honest, it was at a time in my life when I was looking for answers and I was willing to try stuff. But they didn't really tell me how to do it. So I came up with spiritual heat. And in a journal every day I write H, honor. I honor my higher power. Honor is different than gratitude. Honor is like, the way I say it in the book is, if you go to a fabulous party and you honor the hostess by saying how wonderful the party is, that's wonderful. If you thank her for being a part of it, that's a different thing. Honoring her is saying, because whether you were there or not, that was going to be incredible. thanking her as being made part of that incredible thing. So the honor is just to honor your source or your higher power, however you see God. And then you examine your wins and your losses. What'd you do yesterday that was good? What'd you do yesterday that was bad? It might be how you talked to the lady at the market. It might be I left my cart in the thing because it was raining and I didn't want to push it all the way back in the rain. It could be whatever it is that you want to write down. You just do your wins and your losses. And then you go to A and you ask. You remember people that need, things. I have a thing in the back of mine where I just write their name because I figure the higher power knows better than I what they need. And I do HEA, ask, what do I need? This morning in my journal, I said, Lord, I do say that. I said, please let my voice hold up. Let my voice hold up through the teaching. Because my voice was really gravelly this morning. And then T is for thank, and I write 5 new things every day. You can never repeat them. So for example, I wrote my son Luke in there when he was born. I could never write Luke again. He's 30 now. So when he was about 3, I wrote, that funny look Luke gives me when he's going to do something wrong. Really grateful for that look. And there's been other things I've written about Luke, but there's specific things about Luke that I'm grateful for. And what happens when you're writing 5 new things a day, and you got to come up with 5 new things a day, you start to live differently because you're noticing things. There's these little weeds that grow in the grass all around here, not the ones that look like pentas with the little petals that open, but another one. And if you pick it, it's a weed, and it will get mowed. But if you pick it, it looks like this little teeny orchid. I mean, it's got the exact shape of an orchid flower. It's quite beautiful, but it's so petite. Now, how do I know that? I needed something that day. I had nothing. I was like, having a bad day. I don't have a lot to be grateful for. Let's go outside and look around. I was grateful for the man who invented the combustion engine because I can drive a car. I'm grateful that I live in Florida after the man who invented air conditioning. Right? Whatever it is, I'm grateful for, when Ralph was a baby, I was grateful for a good elimination day because that kid was holding it in and really crabby. Whatever it is, I wrote it down. So in the back on this table, there's some spiritual heat books that I'm not crazy about because the printer made the lines really small in the back. But if you can fight through it, take one with you when you leave. And I ask you to try it for 30 days. Because I believe if you try writing a journal like this and examining yourself every day for 30 days, your life will change. And I've been doing it for 35 years. 5 new things every day. And now I've added crayons to mine. I draw pictures and color them in, and I don't spend that much time. It sounds like I spend a lot. It's maybe anywhere from 5 to 20 minutes. And the 20 minutes, it's never because I'm coloring a picture. It's because I'm in distress, and I need to unload what I'm feeling because my feelings are blocking my reasoning. Do you get that? My feelings are blocked. I can't get to the reasoning because I'm so hurt. I'm so hurt. And I just got to get through the hurt and get it all out on paper so I can get to reasoning and start to use that part of my soul so I know what to do. Let's do another slide, Noah. So be intentional about this discipline. Set aside specific time to examine your own life. Create a sacred space where you do this. Your sacred space can move, but make it your space. One more. The additional benefits of regular self-examination, you will have more empathy. You're going to be quicker to forgive because you'll know how many times you mess up. You'll be less defensive because you'll know yourself. You won't have to defend what's in process. Does that make sense? It's in process. It's like you won't have to defend it because I'm changing already. I've already addressed that, and I'm in the process of change. I'm just not at the end yet. And you'll be less defensive because you know you're already taking action. You'll be a better communicator because you'll know yourself better and you'll know what your heart desires more. Your teachability will be enhanced. You'll be a better listener and you will acclimate things that you're hearing and they will become a part of you. And you're going to be happier with yourself. You're not going to be guilty as much because you dump it every day. You dump it. It's gone. Guilt is a wonderful thing. I just wrote an article for next month for Vero's Voice magazine. It's called Good Guilt. So read it. It's going to be in April. But it's a good thing. It's a wonderful thing because it's your own standards that are in question. It's not shame. Shame comes from outside of us, and it's horrible because nobody else should be shaming us. But guilt, that's me saying I let myself down. I let down my own ethics. I let it down. I feel guilty because I didn't live up to who I believe I am. I sacrificed my integrity for fill in the blank. And the last one, the relationships will start to thrive. If you self-examine, you're going to write down stuff about where you're at with these relationships, and they're going to get better. So we're moving into F. You all knew it would be forgiveness, didn't you? Forgiveness is a God quality. What does that mean? I believe we need supernatural help to attain it. So close your eyes and picture someone you want or need to forgive. And once you got that face in your mind, yell out a few words to tell you how you feel. Angry? Bitter? Overlooked? What else? Somebody else said something and I didn't hear it. Relief? Betrayed? Okay, we get the words, right? Most of the words are a little bit dark, right? Let's go ahead, the next slide. Do you like feeling that way? The knife in your heart. I thought that was a pretty good little picture. I was like, oh. You know, after you've been wounded, it's really difficult to move on because it seems like you get the scab and somebody picks it. And you're bleeding all over again. You know, when you do EMDR or NET, which are two emotional therapies that use physical, I think when you can use the physical with the mental, you get a faster end result. I got to be honest. So if you're interested in that, you could ask me about it later. I have some podcasts on both of them, on both EMDR and NET on the website on bethwee.com. So just you could look for those too. But the deal, it's like, again, 30-year-olds, I'm sorry. Dick Van Dyke, Carol Burnett, two of the funniest people I've ever met in my life, but they were physical comedians. Kramer on Seinfeld. 30-year-olds, you with me? Kramer, okay. So Kramer, he's hysterical because he's physical in his humor, right? He's moving as he's doing it, you know. Carol Burnett's hysterical. So was Dick Van Dyke, tripping over the ottoman every day at the beginning of his TV show. But the deal is this. When you are physical, in addition to emotional, the response is bigger. Okay? So now let's take, let me take one that we haven't done. Let's do abandonment. So you're abandoned. I don't know when you were, but you're a 2-year-old kid, you're suddenly in a grocery store and mom's not there. And you're 2, so you're not totally freaked out, but you know something's not right. Okay? And the lady's being very nice to you. You're sitting on a counter eating a lollipop. And finally your mom shows up. Okay. Trauma? What do you think? Yes or no? Probably is. Because that little psyche just knew, I don't know anybody. That sense of belonging is innate. We want it. We want to feel belonging. That's how you know if somebody ever asks you, if they have an addiction problem, ask them that. Do you belong anywhere? That's what addiction does. It takes you away from belonging. You don't belong anywhere anymore. You just need your thing or your person or your behavior. You don't, that's the deal. Because belonging is so innate. The social instinct, so innate. So that 2-year-old so now he goes to school. Oh, let's go summer camp. And they go on a field trip. And the bus leaves without him. Trauma? Okay, let's put him at 8 years old then. And now they're calling the school, the parents, the whoever they're calling. But he finally gets reunited and he's okay. And nothing bad's happening. We're not going into the law and order stage of this stuff where some bad guy's out there. I'm just saying, just things are happening. So now your boyfriend, when you're 16, breaks up with you, and then he starts dating someone 3 days later. Now you got 3 things where you had serious traumatic abandonment, and you're not just 16 and the boyfriend's a numbnuts. You're 2 and you're 8 and you're whatever else. However many times that scab got picked, you're still dealing with it. So the thing is, forgiveness heals that. Forgiveness heals that, but you got to know what you have to heal. You might not know the 2-year-old thing. You would if you did EMDR or NET. I'm just going to tell you that. They will pull those things because your memory has it if it's there. But forgiveness changes you, but you don't feel it. It changes you, and then you live into feeling it. So let's look at the next one because it's I put it on an index card. So resentment goes to forgiveness. Judgment goes to acceptance. Fear goes to love. Which side of the card do you want to live on? Do you want to be the resentful judgment fear lady or man? Or do you want to be the forgiving, accepting love person? Because you get to choose. Every day you are choosing. You are choosing who you are every day. So the decision to forgive is going to radically push you to the one side of the card that I want to live on. So let's do one more, Noah. I think that some shame is toxic. And when you've been shamed, I believe shame comes from outside the person. But it's somebody you gave authority to. So it could be an older sibling. It could be a parent. It could be a teacher. Anybody that you think has authority. I was telling my friends the other night, I walk in the morning. And I have 2 different routes that I walk. And this one night, one morning, it's about 6:40 when I leave my house to go for a walk. And I'm walking, and it was right at the beginning of school, and there was a group of middle schoolers standing on the corner waiting for their bus. So I'm walking by them the first day, and I probably said morning or something like that and just kept walking. There was no hierarchy yet on that little bus stop. Nobody had established themselves as the leader yet. Okay? It was just middle school kids, didn't know each other, bus stop. Okay, now, I think it was 3 or 4 days later, I'm walking by again. And this pretty little girl says, "I don't like that you walk here." Okay? To me, as I'm walking by. So you know what I said? I looked at her and I went, and I kept walking. And all the kids started laughing. And she was like, oh my gosh, And I may have gotten, the name is the crazy walking lady or something. But the deal was this. She has no authority over me. And I wasn't going to trivialize it in front of these other kids because then she would have authority over them. So I acted like a berserk person. I don't know what I did. I just came right out of me naturally. That's how I always act. But the deal was this. At the time when I was doing it, I was challenging authority in my mind. I was challenging who I've given authority to in my life. And did they earn it, or did I just give it to them because I was told to? And so these are the things. Shame can change you guys. You got to forgive those people. Otherwise, you're carrying them with you everywhere you go. So who do you need to forgive? About when Beth We started, I was teaching at a women's conference across the state with 2 other women. And they checked out. They said they wouldn't teach at that conference. So I went by myself. And I taught on forgiveness. And it was a couple days before the conference, and I got like this download of something I should add to the teaching. And I go to the conference. My daughter was with me, actually. She was a little kid then. But I went to the conference, and I taught in the morning. There were probably about 40 women. And I didn't get the new information into the teaching. I just ran out of time. I was new to teaching and timing and stuff. And then, so I sat in the middle and figured it out. Ellen, you were there because you were collecting shells on the beach. Do you remember that? Yeah. Ellen comes up to me and said something about, I'm not really feeling my higher power lately or something. I said, I was like, go to the beach and figure it out. You know, I was like, she was like, okay. So she said she went to the beach, and I'm sitting at this bar outside at this hotel we're at that's not open, and I have it like a huge desk trying to figure out how to add this stuff in. And Ellen comes back, and she's got a bucket full of shells, and she said, every time a wave came in, I got 3 perfect shells. And she goes, then the last time I got 3 crummy shells, and I said, hey, what's with these shells? And I thought, oh, I'm talking to a higher power, I'm okay. And I was like, yes, that's great. But when I went back in and I taught the thing, it was about forgiving God. It was about forgiving God. And I wedged it in there, and I got it in the teaching. And Shay and I were checking out of the hotel the next day, and this woman came up to me, and she had a bag of pills. And she said, I've been saving these for this weekend. And I was going to take them all last night so that nobody would find me till the maid cleaned the room. And she said, but then I heard your teaching. And I said, you're mad at God, aren't you? And she was like, yes. And I said, yeah, that teaching was for you. I don't know where it came from, but it was for you. It wasn't in there before. And I didn't get it in the morning. And she was a mom of 2 boys that had overdosed. She had lost her only 2 children to overdose. And she was really mad at the higher power. And I don't know. What I got to say is, even God, you might have to forgive God. Whatever your conception of God is. You might have to forgive yourself. I think that's hard. The hardest one is forgiving ourselves. Really letting ourselves off the hook. But here's the deal. You can't change the physical. What's in the past is in the past. But in your spiritual nature, you can start new right now. And it's a clean slate. And it just matters what you do from this minute moving forward. That's your new track record. And you can have a new track record. But you have to forgive yourself for the old one. Or you're going to keep falling into it. You're going to keep believing that's who you are and that's the best you can get. And that's not true. Let's go one more. Forgiveness can and will direct painful memories into the light of now, where truth lives. And we can't change the past, but like I said, in the spiritual, you can let go of yesterday's errors, real or perceived. Let's do another one. So we got the guy in there again. In the realm of the soul, we all seek balance. But balance is the realm of the spirit. Balance is the realm of the spirit. It just is. And truth is how we get there. You know, honesty is changeable. You can have cash register honesty. You can have, you've heard of different kind of honesty. Well, I was honest. I was as honest as I could be. Truth never changes. Truth is truth no matter what. So when we get to truth, forgiveness will lead us out of the toxic, painful feelings that we have. and healing can happen. And it happens through relationship with the higher power first, and then in the relationship. Now, let's go to the next slide, because I think it's probably the most important. If you're already fighting with who you don't want to forgive in your mind, like, I'm not forgiving him, I don't care what she says. Let's go over what forgiveness is not, okay? Forgiveness is not denial of the person's responsibility. We are not denying that they are responsible for their actions. It is not minimizing or justifying the wrong that they did to you. No, I'm not saying it was no big deal. It was a big deal. That's not what forgiveness is. It is not approval or excuse. It's not saying, oh, I'm okay with it. Or all right, I excuse it. No, you don't have to approve or excuse it to forgive. It is not reconciliation. Sometimes it shouldn't be reconciliation. If it's an abusive person, you don't need to reconcile and recreate the relationship. You can walk away and not bring them with you in your mind if you can forgive them. Because forgiveness is not a feeling. It's an act of your will. You might start with a feeling, and then you get to the reasoning, and you choose to forgive. You think it through. You look at it. You don't want what they have, so to speak. I don't want anything to do with them, really. I don't want to rehash it anymore. I want it to be over, and I don't want to have to look back at it all the time. That's a desire to forgive, believe it or not. And that's how you do it. It's an act of your will. Corrie ten Boom has a great quote. She said, when God tells us to love our enemy, he gives, along with the command, the love itself. The love is available. It's probably inside you already. You just got to ask for it. Remember that ask part in the spiritual heat? Ask. I need to forgive this person, and I don't want to. Give me enough love to pull it off. So let's do some ideas on the spiritual practice of forgiveness. It starts with becoming aware of the resentment. You guys know resentment, right? To do again. Sent means to feel. It's not always I'm angry. Resentment can be, I feel shame when I'm around you. I feel disappointment when I'm around you. I feel whatever you're feeling over and over again, that can be a resentment. Especially if you can't make it stop, if you're like caught in a whirlpool of it, and it just keeps feeling that way whenever you're there. So become aware of it, and then quiet your mind. Think about it clearly, and choose what you want it to be. I know that sounds kind of like, but choose what you want it to be. Claim your chosen heart desire. I want this to be over, and I want to forgive and let it go. Then ask the higher power for the power to carry out the act of forgiving. A lot of us pray for knowledge of God's will, like, I know God wants me to forgive, but we don't pray for the power to do it. That you're kind of halfway there, Pray for the power to do it. And then renew your mind with the truth. What is the truth? I'm going to go right back to roles. What is my role in this? How did I get here? What were the boundaries? And did I step on boundaries? Did I communicate? Let me see. Did I live into the duty of this? Examine yourself. That's what you're doing. And find the truth, the truth that is your part, that is, I can't explain it, but in finding my own part, I'm so much more tolerant of yours. I'm so much more willing to let you be just another bozo on the bus. So let's go one more. Ideas on the emotional practice of forgiveness. Don't avoid the pain of hurt or betrayal. Feel it. It will pass. Don't stuff it. Because when you're thinking of the person that you have to forgive, if you're just angry, you might have stuffed it. Because it's rare, unless, I got to be honest, unless somebody hurts your kids or somebody that you see as, especially your kids, but somebody like that you see as somehow you're guardian of and they're not. If somebody hurts your kids, I think anger erupts almost immediately. But pretty much every other hurt, it turns into anger because we stuffed it. Like I was hurt by, I was disappointed. I was overlooked. I felt insignificant. You abandoned me. You get what I'm saying? And then when you sit with it inside, you push it down so you don't have to talk about it to anybody, and then it turns into anger. I hate that you did that to me. I hate it that you did that to me. But I call it a box of feelings. And when you stuff emotions into the box of feelings, while they're in there, they morph into anger. And then they come out one day as rage. Like you might have stuffed in disappointment, but boom, it's rage. You stuffed, maybe you were happy and you didn't want them to know. You didn't want to give the satisfaction of knowing that they pleased you, so you stuffed it in the box and acted like nothing. And it comes out as anger too. Anything you don't feel morphs into anger. So I'm asking you, feel the pain of hurt and betrayal. If you're doing the journaling, it's going to help you feel it. Feel it. Write it all out. Write everything down that you can. Take extra time that day and write. And just write and get it out. Get angry and then deal with the anger. I was going through a time in my life that I was angry. And my kids were pretty little. I think they were 6 and 8 or 7 and 9, somewhere around there. And that was back when phones were on the wall. So my phone rang. And I could hear my daughter saying, "My mom, yeah, she's in the garage building something. I'll get you. I'll get her for you. Mom," and so I come out and the person would say, "What are you building?" And I was like, "No, I got a 4x4 and penny nails and I am pounding nails because I am so mad. I am so mad. I was so mad. I just needed to let it out. I was so angry. And I was so angry that the emotions were that, well, like I told you, they were stirred up and I couldn't get to reasoning because I wasn't sure what I was angry, who I was angry, why I was angry at everything, it seemed like. And pounding nails, using my physical nature to help my emotional nature overcome, worked. And I got better. I got enough steam out where I could start to think about it and see my part and see the part of the other person and see why I was so upset. And I was able to work it through. And I had to work it through. But I was pounding nails for a while. I have a friend, Debbie, who buys wrapping paper tubes at the Dollar Tree and whips them on a bed till they shred when she's mad. Because some of us have been hurt in our histories, and we're still mad about it. And that's sad. Okay. Accept that you can't change what happened. Accepting it is not, accept that you can't change what happened, and accepting it is not approving of it. So you can't change what happened, and if you accept that it is that way, that doesn't mean you approve of it. It means that you're ready to move on. And then pray. Tell God you want to exercise your will to forgive and that you need His power to carry it out. And then move out of the role that helped you in resentment. These two roles are really bad, victim and survivor. A victim uses other people to get their needs met. That's what they do for a living. What are you? I'm a victim. I'm a professional victim. Thanks, how can you help me? I'm a victim. It's sad to me because it's from the same root word as victor. And you know what comes before, takes a victim to a victor? I believe it's conviction. Another vict word. But I think it's like you see it. Oh, this is my stuff. I thought it was everybody else did it to me, but it's me. I'm not willing to do the work I need to do to have a happy life. I just keep counting on other people doing it for me. That's a victim. Survivor. I don't want to be a survivor. I do like the word overcomer. But survivor, sur, the prefix means over and above, like surpass, surmount, okay? Sur, over and above. And vivor, that vive is the word to live. So if you survive something, you're over and above living. You're not actually in the life anymore. You're over and above it. And this part, whatever you went through to make you a survivor, keeps you from getting into the meat of life again. Because you got to keep your survivor vest on. You know? And, but, you know, over and come, I like those ones. You overcame it, great. It's over, come on. You know? So when you're looking at the emotional practice of forgiveness, you're going to see that there's reasons that are so beneficial for you to at least consider it, if not jump right in with both feet. I wonder if you guys have any questions so far from what we've said. I don't think we'll be able to hear them. No, I'm sorry. So maybe you should stop recording at this point. Thanks. Yes, Jane.